Kia ora whānau, and welcome to another episode of Get a Job and Get Healthy with Costas Enterprises. I am your host, Alex Costas, and today we're going to talk about my Spotify Wrapped, this is basically a thing that I do every year now that they bring this out, where I basically tell you about how much impact you guys are having on my podcast and basically just talk about how I appreciate you. I'm not just talking about Spotify Wrapped. I'm also going to be, riffing off a couple of things that I'm currently looking at and currently doing. We're going to talk a little bit about my mental health as well. Given that, I'm in this whole big year of change, and there's now things like, with mum passing and everything like that, what's going on. Let's get through the socials first. We'll go through all that sort of stuff and then go from there. So first of all, if you want to contact me, you can always do so. Just put my podcast and then question in the subline of my email. My email is doncostas@gmail.com. That's DON for Nike, COSTAS @gmail.com. That's DONCOSTAS@gmail.com. You can email me anything. I'm pretty open book usually, and I'm happy to talk about a lot of things. And even if you've got any questions, I would love to hear from you. What do you enjoy? What you don't enjoy? Then you can find me on my blog, www.costasenterprises.business.blog. You can also find me at the Kiwi Don on both Instagram and Twitter. So let's get into what I'm doing right now. It is a very early morning. It is basically 7:40 in the morning on the 14th of December, Tuesday, in New Zealand, and it is sunny. So I got up early and thought, I want to go get some sun. I've just recently had a haircut. I've just recently, I've lost not a lot of weight, but I've lost a little bit of weight. And I'm feeling quite good about myself, like in the way that I am. So I thought, come get a bit of sun, get a bit of vitamin D, and just live in the moment a little bit. It's been a very, very busy time of year for us. As you guys know, I am sort of doing the candle business and my own business full time. So as you can imagine, I feel a lot busier now than I did when I was working. Because I am sitting outside, you will hear things like birds and you will hear the bees and, this is not one of those talks, but you will hear things like cars going past as well. And I'm just doing this on my phone, so yeah, you get all the background noise as well. So yeah, I thought I'd come outside, get a bit of sun, and then I only just recently started re-uploading my old episodes to YouTube, which links in the description. And the reason I did that is because I started watching YouTube videos on people basically making content and just putting it out there. And I'll be honest, there was times when I sort of went in there and, I was sitting at like 97, 98 episodes uploaded on YouTube, and I was like, why don't I just get it to 100, And so yesterday I uploaded like 4 episodes. I'm going to upload a few more. We're only on like episode 115, so it gave me more clarity and more ideas that I want to start posting more and putting more effort into the podcast as well as YouTube as well. I do feel like I could do quite well on just getting myself out there, especially now. So yeah, it's been a difficult year, a semi-fun year as well. Like, I've enjoyed these challenges and these changes. And this is not my yearly recap. This is just basically me riffing off the top now about how I'm feeling. We've got a lot going on in our lives, and we're only planning more. I think that's the sort of thing that keeps me going. One of the things that I really enjoy is talking with my partner about the future. And I observe other couples and people that we talk to, and it's really funny seeing that we talk a lot more about things like the future and what we want to do and what our aspirations are than other people do. And I suppose part of that is also visualizing what we want and, gaining that sort of mindset as well. So, yeah, if you're in that sort of situation where you don't know where you are, you don't know what you guys are doing, even as a couple or even individually, I invite you to start thinking and think positively. It's really hard to do it sometimes. Sometimes you feel like you only want to think negatively. Sometimes the voice in the back of your head goes, hey, something's not right. And you feel that. You hear that more than you do going, hey, no, you're okay. You can do this. You've got no problems. Like, we have an opportunity in front of us, which is quite a big opportunity. We are seriously considering it, but it means sort of straying away from what it is that we're doing. But in the long term, it could mean, financial freedom in like 10 years. Now, ideally, it's not our number one choice, but it's an opportunity, so we're considering it. If it goes any further, I will, of course, tell you guys about what it is and all that sort of stuff. I'm still in that process of figuring out whether or not we are going to do it. And this is something that me and my partner are both discussing as well. And again, that's the important part. We are communicating every day. We talk about what do we want for the future? What do we want to do this? How do we reach our goals? Now, at the moment, we are very busy. The candle business is kicking off quite nicely. We've been doing it over a year now, just over a year. And before, when we were we stock our coconut wax candles at a place called Welly Collective, which is a little collective of artists and stuff. I would say little. It's actually not that little now. It's got about 6 stores. And we stock at about 4 of them. Now, originally when we started, we only stocked in 2, and the 2 we had very small shelves. Now that we're in 4, it's quite an ordeal, and let's just say my driving has gotten a lot better after having to drive on the motorway so much. So I no longer fear things like the motorway, or fear like trips to Auckland and stuff like that, which is part of the Armageddon thing as well. Obviously, it's like this year has been quite a big year of change for me. And I will do an episode on that probably end of next year, like go through the full breakdown of what it is that I've learned and all that sort of stuff. So this is not one of those episodes. This is just a get to know me. This is where I've been. Sorry for not posting in a month, basically. But the main reason I'm here is the Spotify Wrapped. So I'm going to read this out to you. Before I start, I am so grateful for all of you that listen, even if you only listen 5 minutes, if you listen 1 episode, 2 episodes, or if you're one of my regular listeners. Like, I truly want to thank you. I know I show my gratitude in other ways, but this is one of those times where I really feel like I'm making like what I'm talking about, my content actually is helping. I'll be honest, I don't get contacted by anybody, and that's why I keep saying, hey, if you want to contact me, please do. But that said, the fact that I see people listening, I see people downloading episodes, I appreciate that. And I've always said this is kind of like my own personal little mini counselor doing this. And so the fact that someone's out there that listens, and you could be one of them now, you're listening to me now, so thank you. I truly appreciate that. So let's read this through. It goes, okay, in 2023, people were really feeling what you do. And then it's got a picture of my logo. Wait to the next page. It goes, really, let's take it from the top. Speaking of top, your top episode was Let's Just Kiss and Say Goodbye. it was streamed 493% more than your average episode. I do have to say, it's funny that is the episode that was streamed the most. For those that don't know, if you go back and listen to the episode, it is basically when my partner left me to go to Vietnam, and I don't break down, but I'm very much like, there was a lot of change at that time as well. I was basically my main boss that I love very much left, and then my partner was leaving like a week later, and then my mum got quite sick, and we were told by the doctors that we needed to put her into a home, and I was like, I'm losing the biggest 3 women of my life in 1 month. I can't do that. So I restricted and I kept mum where she was, and we didn't put her in the hospital, but it was a pretty full on time. And so Let's Kiss and Say Goodbye, I love that song, but that's how it felt. It felt like I was kissing my partner. She was leaving for 6 months, and you know, I was secure in our relationship, but again, like I talked about, that little voice in your head, he was always there going, maybe she doesn't come back, maybe you're not good enough. Now, I know, talking to you every day, that was stupid, but again, that little doubt comes into your head and you think about that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's a little background around what that episode is. It isn't look, it's not, I'll be honest, I didn't think it was my best episode. I think it's mainly the titling that I've called it, which is why it's done so well. On YouTube, it's already done 25 plays as well, which is very, very interesting, because yeah, I again didn't think that would be the one that sells, but I do love the title though, and the content is pretty good. Like, it's just me being open and honest and all that sort of stuff. So then we'll continue on. So it goes, let's hear it for the new fans. 86% of your listeners discovered me in 2023. So that's pretty cool. So if you are a new listener, thank you so much. Let's Just Kiss and Say Goodbye really brought them in. 37% of the new listeners started there. How does it feel to have gone global? You were streamed in 14 countries. United States was my top country with 36% of my total streams. So thank you so much to those in the United States. I don't know whether you are, whether you're US citizens or whether you're Kiwis that live over there. I don't know, but thank you. I truly appreciate it. Got any good podcasts this year? Your most new listeners are in number 1, United States, number 2, United Kingdom, and number 3, Indonesia, which I was very surprised by to hear in Indonesia. But also at the same time, the UK. Like, it's funny that the top 3 that I've got, none of them are New Zealand, which is where I am based. So it's very interesting. But hey, look, I will take new fans from anywhere. I will take, listeners from anywhere. Like, if this reaches you, tell me, please. Like, as I said, I don't hear from anybody. I would love to. So yeah, flick me an email. Your listeners have good taste, obviously, so what else are they into? Your listeners' top podcast genres were number 1, business, number 2, education, and number 3, sports. Now, sports is quite interesting because I'm not really a sporty person, as you can, tell from what I hear. But yeah, business and education, like, I appreciate that. Your listeners' top music genres were pop, number 1, number 2, rock, and number 3, soft rock. I like all of those, so I'm quite happy with that too. That's quite cool. Are you a gardener? Because your podcast saw some nice growth this year, 13% up in followers. So thank you for those new followers. Like, you're listening, and I will endeavour to try to post more as well. Can't forget to give a big shout out to your biggest fans. You're a top 10 podcast for 26 fans. So that blows my mind. And then I'm a top 5 podcast with 20 fans. Again, what the hell? And drum roll, please. I'm the number 1 podcast for 11 fans. So if I'm your number 1 podcast for 11 fans, thank you. Honestly, I can't believe it. Like, I am so grateful for you. I am so appreciative for you listening. Like, not even just for the top 11 fans that listen to my podcast as a number 1. If you put me in your top 30 podcasts, I'm grateful. Top 50. There's so many good podcasts out there. So I appreciate it. Like, for everybody, thank you so much. And then it says top fans listen to you 1.8 times more than your other listeners. So I don't know how that works. Maybe you listen to an episode twice. I don't know. But thank you. 90% joined you on your first time this year. So for all my new joiners, thank you so much. I know there was quite a period where I didn't post, and yeah, I mean, as I said, it's been a year of change, and there's been a lot of me doing things like, posting maybe once a month sometimes, like this time. I don't want that to continue. I want to try and maintain a habit of posting with you guys. And it goes, let's zoom out. What a year. Top 10 for 26 fans, top 5 for 20 fans, and top podcast for 11 fans. And it's got some fireworks. Get a job and get healthy with Costas Enterprises. Thank you for sharing your podcast with the world. Speaking of sharing, we made something for you, and that's where they give you their little sharing thing, I assume. Yep, there it is. So it says, get a job and get healthy with Costas Enterprise. 417 minutes created. United States is my top country, up 13%, and 11 top fans. And then when we go for the other one, it says top podcast for 11 fans, 20 fans, top 5, and 26 top 10. And then, yeah, and so that was it. So, yeah, I'm humbled, and I am truly appreciative. Like, yeah, you guys don't realize how much this actually does mean to me, that someone is listening, let alone that I'm a top podcast. Like, that is something that I really can't believe. Like, I've done, this might be 115, 114, and yeah, it means a lot. It means a lot. I do see a lot more people are liking my business content as well, so I will try to post more on some of that. But I mean, realistically, this whole journey with my podcast it's not only to get a job, it's to make your own money. It's evolved in the time that I created it. When I first created it, it was literally, I've got a blog, let me read some of my blog posts, and this will teach you how to get a job, basically. And then get healthy, because at the time I was going through keto and trying to lose a lot of weight and all that sort of stuff. It has evolved. It's now more about how do I make passive income. If I do think of something like how to apply for a job, then I will say that. It talks about my mental health more so than my physical health. Although my physical health is getting better, it's still nowhere near what it should be. And that is something that I need to work on as well, which I will be working. But definitely the mental health has grown a lot. And this podcast is a way of me basically getting everything out there. Now, part of the reason that I haven't done an episode in the last month is because I have been waning. Okay, and by that I mean I've been busy, but I've also been a little bit not depressed, but down. Like, Christmas is that time of year with family, I now have my partner. That's my only family. My auntie's passed away, my uncle's passed away, my mother's passed away, my father's passed away, my grandparents have passed away. I do have some cousins, but I'll be honest, we haven't spoken in years, and we're talking 20, 30 years, being realistic, rather than the occasional hi. Like, I don't even have their number. Like, it's one of those sorts of deals. They wiped me like a dirty ass. Last year, my auntie died in 2022, and it was around my birthday. So, yeah, I have just recently had my birthday. I'm 41, and she passed away, and then I found out that 2 years earlier, my uncle passed away, and the family never even reached out and told me. They never told my mother, even though they were in contact. So when I went to her funeral, which they never told me about either, and I was her first nephew. You can imagine I got quite bitter, and I'm still hurt by it. But to me, that put the nail in the coffin of the family. Like, we were having problems with their side, and Uncle, I loved Uncle. Uncle was the best. Like, I could talk to him like a normal person. But my auntie, yeah, had all the traits that I could easily have and have tried to get rid of. I see a lot of myself in my father, my mother, and some of it in my auntie. Luckily, I don't want to be those things. And I want to change the way that I am. Hence why I'm doing what I'm doing. So yeah, it's and that was only a year ago. And then in January, I lost my mum. April, I lost my job. March. I can't remember. I know it was a long time ago. And as in the way of mental health, I was probably in the worst state I'd been in a long time. To a degree. I dealt with the grief pretty well. Like, a lot of people probably were expecting me to freak out and all that sort of stuff because, you know, it was my mum, and I had such a big relationship with my mother. But I'll be honest, because of some of the books that I read previously, I was able to deal with grief differently than when I dealt with it with my father. My father died when I was 18 years old. So it was one of those ones where I had to step up and be the man of the house because of my mum's mental health. And it meant, you know, growing up when you're 18, when you weren't really supposed to grow up. And so I was doing things like, you know, getting ready for the rates, getting a job, all that sort of stuff, like, but also looking after my mother full time, effectively, and still, you know, having to put a lot of my youth on hold has always been a thing, because of mum and dad and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, it's one of those ones where I managed to deal with mum's death pretty well. Considering, like, I still get sad and I still miss her, obviously. I'm not heartless, but I got to a point where I accept that she's gone, but she's in a better place. She was in a place where she was starting to hurt a lot, and she was in a place where she was a lot sicker. And while yes, it hurts, I would love her to be around, I'm happier that she's up there watching over me with Dad. So that was part of it. And then just feeling, the other thing was like from where I used to work, which was the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, because now that I'm no longer employed, I can say that shit. I felt betrayed by my boss. Not my good boss, the new boss. She was the one that basically, you know, I'd asked for like almost a year, hey, what is going on with my role? And never heard anything. And lo and behold, they waited until the head boss left And then my role got up for the establishment. Do I think they made a mistake? Of course. I'm always going to think that they made a mistake. Am I happier because of the change? Now I am. At the time, I wasn't. At the time, I was bitter. I was hurt because, it happened literally 2 months after my mum passed that they told me. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So I took it pretty hard. And, the people I worked with, love them. Apart from, the boss that put the hammer in the coffin, the nail in the coffin. For all I care, I am okay if I don't hear from her ever again. Let alone her boss as well. Like, yeah, I wouldn't deal with that anyway. But I'm not gonna be bitter about it. Like, it's one of those ones where if something happened and I met with them, I'd meet them. That's okay. But I wouldn't work for them again. That's the thing. And so now we're at that point where we know we need to do some stuff. We want to grow our future, me and my partner. And part of that is talking about what we're going to do for the future. And we've got a lot of things that we're looking at. And sort of the next 2 years are going to be a very, very big change. But I think they're going to be big changes for a good way. It seems that every year for the last sort of 6 years, 7 years, I've had a big change year, a big change year, a big change year. And this one's been definitely the hardest, but I have also grown the most. What is funny though is, so I usually do my book review and I talk about all the books that I've read. I have read bugger all books this year. Like, maybe 20. When I'm hitting 50 books normally. I just haven't had the drive to listen to an audiobook. I just haven't had the mentality to think about a book. But I've still been learning. That's the weird thing. I've still been learning. But yeah, it's funny. Usually I would call this episode like morning commute to work, if it was this early. But I'm literally sitting in my garden in the sun, 8 o'clock in the morning, just listening to the birds, talking to you guys. I never would have thought I would have been able to do that after working for 20 years non-stop. Like, I didn't take like a month off or anything. Like, I did a full 20 years. Like, there was no break in between my jobs. I went from one job to the next job, and then the next weekend when I had another job, I had another job. Like, And as I said, I am busy now. I don't have weekends now. Like, I have the occasional half day, but during December, that ain't going to happen. But at the same time, I'm enjoying it. Like, I get to spend all day with my partner. That's crazy to me. Like, the freedom that I've got now, you might be like, oh, well, how are you doing for money? Look, we're doing okay. I've learned that I don't need a lot of money to be happy. And yeah, I'll delve more into this probably next episode, or the episode after. But it's taken me a long time to get that shift away from money, to be okay with living on $100 for a month. And not because we don't have the money to do that, but because I'm limiting myself. Like, it is pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. Considering I used to spend easily $20, $30 just for lunch every day when I was working. So yeah, there's been a lot of changes. Some good, some bad. Like, 90% are good. But then losing my mum, losing my job, the way I lost it, like, I would rather if I'd found another job. But given the time frame that they wanted it to happen and all that sort of stuff, it was a bit of a bullshit move. Like, they gave me a month to prepare, but then they shipped me off to a different group where I was working really hard every day, and then all the jobs that I wanted to apply for, there was nothing there. So it was like, okay, cool. So I took the redundancy. And, I'm not going to sniff at the redundancy. I'd worked there 20 years, so I got, about 70 odd K. But after tax, that was 50K. I also did like a whole lot of overtime. Well, my overtime ended up becoming complete tax. So I basically made close to $8,000 in overtime with part of the time that I'd done. And that was all taken in $24,000 worth of tax. So I don't even feel like I got the money that I worked extra for in that last time. But that last time that I worked, that was not for my other boss. That was for the other part. And they were great. Like, they respected me. It was my boss at the time that didn't. So, yeah, it's, as I said, it's been an interesting year. It's been a hard year. One of the things that's happened is this house has, it was Mum's house. It's now become my house, and that's really, really weird because, I look at it, I see all the memories of when it was Mum, me, Dad. I look out at the garden now, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember, putting my Hot Wheels cars in the bottom. I remember digging them up like 20 years later and going, oh shit, I got Hot Wheels cars, that's right. I actually did that. I remember when we used to have a massive hedge that would go from one side of the property to the other. Then we had to get rid of it and replace the retaining wall. Well, that was $14,000. And then for years, it was just blank. There was nothing there. And now, with me and my partner, like, this is our house now. So we're planting trees. We're trying to do permaculture. We've got fruit trees. We've got blueberries. We've got veggies. We've got all this stuff growing. And so we're finally... Like, one of the things we wanted to do was create a food forest, and we're finally getting towards that food forest. So it's like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, I finally have, we had 30 years, 70 years worth of stuff there. And I'm finally clearing a lot of it. Like, we've got clean rooms now. We've got people living in the rooms where there was just junk, or there was, Mum and Dad's stuff. I cleared Dad's room. I hadn't been in Dad's room for 20 years. Not really. The occasional look in, throw a box in there. But, I had to go through his stuff. I talked about it in one of my episodes, like the Dad's Diary thing. Like, finally having some closure that he was proud of me for doing the acting, despite him always making it sound like he wasn't. That I had to get a job, that I had to do this. It was like, and just that little thing was like that little bit of closure I never had. I would have had it sooner had I gone in there and actually looked at everything. But I didn't. And so that's kind of like, the fear that I had with a whole lot of stuff. I'm starting to realise that I'm not letting that fear control me anymore. Like, if I told you a year ago that not only would I have a home, I'd also be like, oh yeah, I'd be at Armageddon. I'd be selling things at Armageddon. Let alone I'd be selling things. Like, that's crazy. I've just started this business. Like, we've done this business for a year, and I don't bring much to the business. Like, I'll be honest. Like, my partner's the one that makes all the candles, but I found that I love selling. I love doing things like that, which it's funny because everyone else was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense that you would love that, but I didn't even think about it. So yeah, I mean, change is good. Change can be good. Can be hard. But at the end of the day, the main thing I want to take away from this episode is, 1, thank you so much. You listen, you appreciate it, and I appreciate you. I truly do. Like, I can't get over the fact that for 26 of you, I'm a top 10 podcast. And then for 11 of you, I'm a top 1. Like, that gives me thoughts that I need to do this more. That I actually need to get more content out there for you guys. Not just for me. Like, even though I love, like, you know, my little counselling sessions, which is what I call this thing sometimes. But I want to help you guys like you guys are helping me. So please, feel free, drop me a line. Send me a text. Send me an email. And yeah, let me know what's been going on with your life. How have you been this year? I'd love to read some stuff out online. I'd love to talk to everyone about these things. I want this to become a community so people can actually talk to me. What content do you want to hear? What content don't you want to hear? Like, you know, I am there to service my viewers. And I would love to do that. So, thank you so much. As always, I love you guys, and good luck.